On behalf of Indian section, I welcome all brothers and sisters in Mahatma Letters study class organized by Indian section. Let us begin the session by invoking the universal prayer. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other. Welcome all the members again. Today's speaker, Brother N.C. Krishna ji, will be presenting Mahatma Letters number 8283, edited by Barker, which are correspondence to letter number 113 and 114. Now it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce Brother N.C. Krishna ji. Although he is well known to the senior members, but I would like to present very brief introduction for the new members. Brother N.C. Krishna ji joined Theosophical Society in the year 1966, inspired by his paternal grandfather, who was a national lecturer and the general secretary. His grandfather was an epitome of theosophy. N.C. Krishna says that I am trying to walk in his footsteps and want to be remembered as a person who tried living by theosophical principles. N.C. Krishna ji is a national lecturer of Indian section, Theosophical Society, Varanasi, and the international speaker of the Theosophical Society, Adyar. With these words, now I request Brother Krishna ji, please present the wisdom of the letters. Brother Krishna ji.
Yes. Dear brothers, letter number 82 is written by Master K.H. to Mr. Sinnet, the guide to the Master's Letters of the Wisdom, written by Virginia Hanson, talks about Master writing on both sides of the paper, of white paper, of six sheets. The sheets numbered 6, so it was written on both the sides. It's fairly long letter then. And the guide also says, the guidebook also says, the letter is a bit complicated. That's what the comment of the person who wrote the book, the guidance, the book which guides us to the details of the letter. And this letter was written in the month of August 1883. At that time, Mr. Sinnet was in London. He had just then published his book, The Esoteric Buddhism, and that book was well received. So we come across a sentence in French in this particular letter, which is the crux of the matter, actually. The entire thing depends on what exactly that sentence is all about. The time to pay the bill has come, meaning the time to take decision is now or never. This is the crux of the matter and the sum and substance of the letter number 82. Of course, it's written at great length, and the first 4 lines, I believe, were in the blue ink, and the rest of the letter was in the green ink. I don't know what it exactly conveys, but this is some of the details given by the book, the guide book to the Letters of the Masters of the Wisdom, edited or written by Virginia Hanson and George Linton. Right. Then we all know A.P. Sinnet was wanting to start another newspaper because the owners of Pioneer, the paper for which he was working as editor, perhaps have indicated that they may go in for a new editor. So he was looking out for an opportunity to start a new newspaper. So he perhaps called it Phoenix. He called it Phoenix. So this is how we are starting with that situation where AP Sinnet, who was wanting to start a new newspaper, is in a dilemma, actually. The paper AP Sinnet wanted to start was not taking off because the investment has stopped coming. The investment, the funds required to start the newspaper were not forthcoming. And it looked like the Project Phoenix is jinxed. The project was in a state of slumber, or the word used by the master is samadhi, a state of near death. So this is what Master KH talks about, this particular situation where Mr. Sinnet was looking for investment to start the newspaper, but then the investments were not forthcoming. So KH is writing this letter number 82 at this juncture. At this juncture, Master KH is giving an option to AP Sinnet, either to accept or reject the funds likely to come as investment from Bihari chiefs. So he is asking him whether he would like to accept it or reject it. It is up to him. The guidebook to the master's letter says, unless one is familiar with the Indian history of 1880s, one will not be able to understand the contents of this letter. So for those people for whom the Indian history prior to independence, especially the times of 1880, at that period, they will not be able to follow the contents of this letter, says the authors of that book, which guides us to the letters of the Masters of the Wisdom. On top of this letter number 82 was written a caution, strictly confidential. The particular letter starts with strictly confidential. Maybe the cover had those inscription on the cover, so the letter was considered to be strictly confidential. And Master writes a sentence in French: the time to take decision is now, is the suggested meaning of that sentence. Of course, it's French, so we can pronounce the way we like. But since I'm not good at French, I'm not venturing to pronounce that sentence, but I'm taking the meaning, suggested meaning of that sentence, which says the time to take decision is now. Based on what answer AP Sinnet will give, lot depends on that answer, and the fate of Phoenix is dependent on the stand which Mr. Sinnet will take. Actually, it has reached a stalemate. Actually, the situation of the Phoenix paper has reached a stalemate. It was near death-like situation, is what Master was saying. And the resurrection of the project depends whether AP Sinnet will say yes or no to certain conditions. So Master KH says the entire thing depends on Mr. Sinnet. Lot depends on Mr. Sinnet. Master says if the project Phoenix is not already dead, if it is not already dead, that's what he says. Maybe it's dead already, but if it is not already dead, the resurrection of the project depends on the answer or the stand to be taken by Mr. Sinnet. This is the overall picture which Master KH is giving to Sinnet. Master KH is talking or mentioning about the Bengal rent bill. Master KH is talking or mentioning about the Bengal Rent Act bill. This act was enacted in 1859. This act was enacted in the year 1859. The act imposed restrictions. The act imposed restrictions on the landlords. The restrictions were related to increasing the rent which the peasants have to pay unilaterally, and also the power to evict the riots or the peasants or the farmers. These are the two conditions which were there, or contents of that particular act, which was called the Bengal Rent Act Bill of 1859. So it had restrictions on the powers of the landlords. The restrictions was also on the power to evict the riot or farmer in case of the landlord not being satisfied. He can immediately ask him to vacate the place, and similarly to increase the rent without any consultation with the peasant who is actually tilling the land. So then, what exactly is the position of the tenant? A tenant who has tilled the land, a tenant who has tilled or who has cultivated the land for 12 consecutive years, a tenant or a farmer who takes the land under the tenancy rights, who has cultivated the land for 12 consecutive years, was called the fixed rent tenant. He was called the fixed rent tenant, and he was protected. A person who has cultivated the land for 12 years was protected. But all the other farmers, all the other riots, riot means farmer. This is well known down in South. We call him Raitu, means farmer. But getting exploited. The other farmers were getting exploited and were in miserable condition. This is the situation of the persons who are tilling the land, who are cultivating the land. They were only being exploited by the landlords. All in all, the British government was favoring the landlords. The British government was favoring the landlords. Masters and the hierarchy, including the Mahachohan, were supporting the farmers who were suffering. The government was supporting the landlords, whereas the masters and the hierarchy, including Mahachohan, were actually supporting the farmers who were suffering. All the Europeans, all the Englishmen are perhaps called Europeans, all the Europeans, including Mr. Sinnet, were for the landlords. They were supporting the landlords and were opposing the stand taken by the masters. The masters were actually working for the upliftment of the downtrodden farmers, but the Sinnet, the Europeans, including Sinnet, were people who were supporting the landlords. So this is the situation as we see when the picture opens in this letter number 82. Master KH says, we shall all try, Master KH is telling Mr. Sinnet, we shall all try to avoid a great evil that may befall on both the countries. He is including England as well as India. Master KH says, we shall all try to avoid a great evil that may befall on both the countries, namely India and UK. If things are allowed to take its own course, the evil will fall on us or fall on the countries. That's what Master KH is saying. Now Master KH is talking about an investment for the Project Phoenix. So he appeals to Sinnet to think and give consent to the offer. Now Master KH is talking about an investment for the Project Phoenix. So he appeals to Sinnet to think and give consent to the offer. Master says the Bihari chiefs are proposing to invest 1,50,000 rupees in the Project Phoenix. That must be a very big amount in those years, in those times. 1,50,000 the Bihari chiefs are wanting to invest in the Project Phoenix, provided your paper Phoenix, the new paper which he will start, would oppose the Bengal Rent Bill. He should take a stand to oppose the Bengal Rent Bill. And AP Sinnet, as editor of Phoenix, if he is willing to extend his support to the suffering farmers. So this is the condition with which the investment is likely to come. So the investment was 1,50,000 and it had a rider in it saying that Mr. Sinnet, as an editor, should be extending his support for the farmers and oppose the Bengal Rent Bill Act. So Master says to Sinnet, think and act, think and act. Master K says, all the right thinking Englishmen, all the sane Englishmen in India living at that time are opposing the Bengal Rent Bill. So this is the observation of Master KH. He says, all the right thinking, sane Englishmen in India, living in India at that point of time, are opposing the Bengal Rent Bill. On all counts, they don't seem to disagreeing on anything. Every way they look at it, they are against that bill. Master says, we want to be on the side of the poor farmers who need protection. Master very, very clearly, very emphatically says, we are wanting to be on the side of the farmers, the poor farmers who need protection all the way. So what we are intending to do is to work against the stand of the government. So Master says, what we are intending to do is to work against the stand taken by the government and work for farmers. We are going to work in the opposite direction. If the government is thinking in terms of supporting the landlords, we are going to support the farmers. So we're in the opposite direction. We're working in the opposite direction. And Master says our work cannot be stopped or obstructed. Our work cannot be stopped or obstructed by you or by your government or by the powers of your government. We are favoring the farmers, but our work, we are favoring the farmers, but our work you will not be able to stop, says the Master KH. So this is the firm indication that the Master is giving to Mr. Sinnet, that the government may think in terms of supporting the landlords, but the masters, the hierarchy is in favor of the poor farmers, not those farmers who have been protected by the 12-year rule, but all the rest of the people who don't fall into that category, who have been sidelined, they are the people who are suffering a lot. So they need a lot of support from us. This is what the masters are saying. We are working at cross purposes. This is what Master KH is saying. Your way of working is working for the landlords. Our way of working is working for the farmers. So he says, Master says, we are working at cross purposes. We are not agreeing on the method to be adopted. It looks like a riddle. It looks like a riddle, says Master KH. A riddle is something which has a hidden answer. But here it is very obvious that the masters are supporting the farmers and the government is supporting the landlords. So this is the situation. Master extends a warning. Master extends a warning and says, Europeans must be ready to receive a shock. Europeans must be ready to receive a shock. This is the warning Master KH is giving to the community as such, the English community as such. Asiatic plans or plans relating to Asians, which suits the locals, are placed before you. They're all there for you to examine. Master says, I will not guide you. I will not hold your hand. I will not show the finger and say, think, understand like this, go like this into this, things like that. Master says, I will not guide or help you to understand the plans. Master says, if I did, that is guide by showing my anxiety to see that you understand our viewpoint, it will be like Jesuit preaching the Christian religion. Jesuits are the people who are Roman Catholics who talk about the religion Christianity. So it will be like they preaching for Christianity. I don't want to do that. Master K says we don't want to be party to that. We don't want to guide you to accept our viewpoint. You will not be able to see the occult antidotes. This is another statement Master KH is making. You will not be able to see, he is telling Mr. AP Sinnet, you will not be able to see the occult antidotes which will be in operation, which will be in operation, as you are not able to see the difference between our stand and the government's stand, which believes that all the roads lead to Rome. This is another French sentence which is there in the center portion of the first page. And the government or the Lord Cornwallis believed that all the roads lead to Rome, because they had a feeling that they were being guided by the religion which is got the headquarters at Rome. So he says, you will not be able to see the difference between our stand, which is to support the farmers, and the government stand, which is standing for the landlords. So your government believes all the roads, they lead to Rome. Master says, ends should justify the means, says the master. Ends should justify the means. This is something which we can always keep it in mind. Always ends should justify the means. Master says, we are bound by the directions of our Lord, our hierarchy, our Lord. Master says, we are bound by the directions of our Lord, who says one should sacrifice one's life to save the life of a fellow living being. Our Lord says we should be ready to sacrifice our life or one's life to save the life of a fellow living being. So this is what the dictum or the direction of the Lord. Master says our Lord, is it Sanat Kumara? Lord, the highest, the king. Master says, our Lord says, we shall not hesitate to give up our name and honor to save the name and honor of the many. Imagining a lot of people are losing their fame and name. Master says, our Lord says, we shall not hesitate to give up our name and honor to save the name and honor of the many. Many people are losing, so we should not hesitate. We should be there to place on the block our name and honor. If we, that is masters, are not capable of this sacrifice, if we are not capable of this sacrifice, if the masters are not capable of this sort of sacrifice, we are not eligible for immortality or nirvana. This is what Master is telling Mr. Sinnet. If we are not capable of this sacrifice, we are not eligible for immortality or nirvana. Then Master wants to explain the situation further. Master says the situation is complicated. Master himself is saying, situation is complicated. Yet, Sinnet, as one who has understood the concepts and doctrines without training and authored and produced the book Esoteric Buddhism, is a person who knows all. So this is the compliment he is giving. You know all, but still you don't want to take a decision. So he says, APS as one who has understood the concepts and doctrines without training, just perhaps not mentioning about it is enough for you to understand what it was. So without training, you have understood the doctrines and concepts and produced and authored the book, The Esoteric Buddhism. So you are a person who knows all. Our inner intentions will be intelligible to you. What exactly we need, what exactly we're looking for is very well known to you. This is what Master KH is telling Mr. Sinnet. Our inner intentions will be intelligible to you. That is Sinnet. So this is what Master is telling him. Master says, rupees 45,000 was supposed to come from landowners, that is landlords, as investment in shares for your project Phoenix. Master says 45,000 was expected from landlords as investment in shares for your project Phoenix. Let them put the money. Let them put their money first. Rest will follow, says the master. So if they're only talking about it, nothing will happen. Let them put the money first and the rest will follow, says the master. So the money will come, provided they show the intention in action. The jamindars, the landlords, don't lose anything. If you refuse their offer, suppose you refuse the offer of 45,000, the zamindars and landlords will not lose anything, but they will look for another editor, isn't it? You are not taking 45,000 starting a magazine or newspaper. They will look for another editor. So zamindars and landlords are not the persons to lose anything. If you refuse their offer, they will look for another editor. The other editor may not be as clever and as astute as you are. We know you are very clever, very astute. And he says, you are clever and a good politician. This is the comment to the master to Sinnet. So the other editor may not be as clever and as astute, means as skillful as you are. You, meaning Sinnet, are clever and a good politician. So a politician is one who takes the stand and supports perhaps the side which talks louder or talks, if not the right one, it supports the voice of the persons who are supporting the government. Jamindars, landlords are not aware that they will be doomed thoroughly. This is a sort of prophecy master is saying. Jamindars and landlords are not aware that they will be doomed thoroughly. This will happen as the time goes by. It is bound to happen. The landlords will be doomed thoroughly. Who will lose if the money from Bihari chiefs is not, who will lose if the money from Bihari chiefs is not accepted? He is asking a question. Master KH is asking a question. Who will lose if the money from Bihari chiefs, like 3,000, is not accepted? Time will decide. Time will decide. Both the countries, India and UK, will be the losers. Not just the Phoenix project, but both the countries, India and UK, will be the losers. So if the money is not accepted and we don't start the newspaper, both the countries are bound to lose in the process. Master says, this is a prophecy. You can't see what is coming, but countries will suffer in the process. Both the countries will suffer in the process. This is a prophecy, says the master. This is something which is going to happen in course of time. You may not be able to see it, but then we're able to see it. So we are warning you. This is what the prophecy of Master KH. The landlords are resisting the bill. The zamindars are resisting the bill and have an expectancy and curiosity to see whether farmers would lose and weaken their stand or get weakened in their stand. They're just waiting whether the farmers will lose their interest and that will weaken their stand. This stand of Europeans is not good. In fact, their behavior is not giving them any name or fame. Their behavior is not giving them any name or fame. Their resistance to the bill seems to be natural as landlords and zamindars are against the farmers. It seems to be natural because the government is supporting the farmers are the suffering lot, and the landlords are with the government. So their resistance to the bill seems to be natural. It is only natural that they should support the government and they should show resistance to the bill, and they are working against the farmers. Actually, the real culprit, now Master KH is talking about another person. Actually, the real culprit for all this predicament is Lord Cornwallis and his followers who took his place later on. They were from the beginning opposing the farmers infamously, because they did not become famous because they opposed farmers. They became infamous because they opposed the farmers. That's what the understanding and statement of Master KH. The supporting of governments, the supporting of these government agencies is like defending a client who is about to be hanged. The supporting of government agencies is comparable to a person defending a client who is about to be hanged. So there is no future for it, but still the government is hanging on to their argument. Master says, we are not looking at your point of view. We're not looking at your point of view, which is the European point of view. I am afraid, says the master, that you will not be able to see the Asiatic point of view. Master says, we are not looking at your point of view. Definitely we are with the farmers, so we are not looking at European point of view. I am afraid, says the master, that you will not be able to see the Asiatic point of view also. Master says, as people who are endowed with foresight, masters have got the ability to see the future. I dare say that you will not be able to see the coming events. I dare say, this is a strict warning, that you will not be able to see the coming events. Only we can see. You cannot see what is going to come, says the master. So as masters are endowed with the ability to see the future, he is warning Mr. Sinnet and the European community in general that you people are not able to see what is going to come on to you, and we are able to see what is going to come on to the countries, both the countries. Master says, a conservative editor, towing the lines of the viceroy, who is also a conservative, is only to be expected. Master says, a conservative editor, an editor who is not improving upon his thinking, is a conservative editor. Towing the lines of viceroy, who is conservative in his own right, is only to be expected. The government feels that the opposition to the bill by small farmers will not last long. The government feels that the opposition to the bill by small farmers will not last long. So your stance seems to be all right from your viewpoint. Judging from your point of view, it seems to be all right because you feel that the farmers will lose interest. They'll not be able to fight this case longer. Master says there are great legal flaws in the bill. Master says there are great legal flaws in the bill, which is being considered as workable solution between farmers and landlords. Even if it is examined from the point of view of the dead spirit of the letter, that means if you just go through letter by letter, dead spirit of the letter, the bill is not right and it needs to be re-examined. So whatever may be the outcome, it seems to be not all that favorable for the future. Master says due to idiotic, untimely introduction. Master says due to idiotic, untimely introduction of Ilbert's bill, the whole situation is in a mess. So there is another bill which was introduced by the British government called Ilbert's Bill, ILBERTS, Ilbert's Bill. The whole situation is in a mess. The bill provides the Indian judges were authorized to try Europeans. The bill provides the Indian judges were authorized to try Europeans. The Ilbert Bill is a controversial bill opposed by all the British subjects living in India at that point of time. The bill was passed in the year 1883. Added to this, there was another case, a contempt case of Saligram Surendro, who wanted to shift his place of business, and the agitation of Indians against the judgment passed in that particular contempt case did not swooped Indians, and so there was agitation. It is in this background that the Bengal Rent Bill has come to be considered. So he says it is lopsided, not properly placed, and there are a lot of agitations which are happening. And so this is the situation where perhaps a lot of thinking has to go in to whether to take forward the government's method of supporting the landlords. The English and the Anglo-Indians. Anglo-Indians always felt that they were more English than the English people. The English and the Anglo-Indians were fighting on the other side, opposing Indians strongly. So this was the state of affairs when the bill was introduced, the rent bill was introduced. Master says, you can remain without heeding to my warning. I have warned you all right, but you can remain without heeding to my warning of both the countries getting doomed. I said both the countries will be doomed. So you need not have to follow my prophecy or follow my warning. If you care to listen and follow the advice, you will prosper. This is another strong way of putting it across. If you are to listen and follow the advice, you will prosper and will be considered as wise. We, masters, leave all that up to you, what you want to do. So they don't want to force, the masters don't want to force Mr. Sinnet or the other people who are in the government. They're just putting it before them. Master says, several Englishmen of great intellect and ability. Master is observing this. Master says, several Englishmen of great intellect and ability are ready to oppose the bill, keeping aside their principles and feelings. They are English people. They have the pride in being English, but they're able to keep aside all those feelings and they're able to see the truth in that particular stance which they have taken. Master says several Englishmen, many, several means many, of great intellect and ability are ready to oppose the bill, keeping aside their principles and feelings. Small farmers are suffering as the Indian landlords also don't seem to be liking the state of simple-minded farmers. See, this is what is happening. The small farmers are suffering as the Indian landlords also don't seem to be liking the state of simple-minded farmers. Master says, whether you take the offer of money or not, based on the stand taken by you, the newspaper Project Phoenix is facing its end or facing its death, says the master. So this is what he is saying. And then master says, he says to AP Sinnet, you better be prepared for the result which is unavoidable. You're going forward in one direction and the result will come and it is unavoidable. So master says to Sinnet, you better be prepared for the result which is unavoidable. 99 out of 100 times, if the offer of Bihari chiefs is rejected, 1,50,000 investment is rejected, the newspaper Phoenix will not come into existence. This is what master is saying. And if it is accepted, then the condition is that Senate should support, the newspaper should support the farmers. At least now, as long as the agitation is going on, there was agitation which is going on, the farmers were agitated, the paper may not start. The paper may not start. So if that happens, unless we become the masters of the situation, we're able to control the situation, we're going to be positive about controlling the situation, then if that's not going to happen, our association will have to end. That means the relationship of the master and Mr. Sinnet will have to end. That's what Master KH is saying, and we may have to part. It is not possible to obtain permission of Chauhan again to start the newspaper. If you remember, when we studied last time, they obtained the permission of Chauhan to start another paper, which Mr. Sinnet wanted the permission to come from Mahachohan. So if it's not possible to obtain permission from Chauhan and not possible for us, that is masters, to stay without defending the poor farmers. So we have to support the poor farmers. So we'll continue to support the poor farmers. And Chauhan also cannot be approached again to give us permission to start the newspaper. And the poor farmers are the oppressed Indian farmers, peasants. So in the event of failure of Phoenix not taking off, in the event of Phoenix not taking off, or it doesn't see the daylight, we masters have to bid farewell, eternal farewell, not just farewell, eternal farewell to the European people or community. European element is the letter, says European element means people. Master M and Master Jwalakul would have to take my place. I may not be there, so those two might take my place. And if you agree to the offer of investment and you will continue to oppose the bill and you don't support the farmers, it not help the working of our plan. So the farmers will be exposed. So if another editor steps in, we may not exercise our influence on him or on the farmers' behalf. We may not exercise our power on the new editor. We can't expect you to see clearly, though, as things stand now. We can't expect you to see clearly, though, as things stand now. Things may go against both the countries, you're not able to see. So you may not be able to see that. So this is what I'm more cautioning you about. So in the near future, you may not be able to see that because you are carried away by what the government is saying. The offer will fall to the ground if the situation doesn't improve. If you don't think in terms of supporting the farmers, the offer will fall to the ground and you will not be able to take the stand which is suggested to you by us. So the offer will go down and also you will not be able to take the stand which we are suggesting to you, support the farmers, which you may not be able to do. So you may not do that. We are able to see that you're not able to do that. And in the near future, the whatever will happen. And the future is uncertain. That's what Master is saying. If you accept the offer, in case you accept the offer and work for the farmers, not landlords, this is the condition. If you accept the offer of 1,50,000 investment and work for the farmers and not the landlords, you will save the population who have been suffering from the year 1793. You will save the people who have been suffering from the year 1793, which was the year when Lord Cornwallis stepped in, another viceroy. 1793 he came in, and that was a big political mistake, and he went against the farmers. Lord Cornwallis worked against the farmers. So in 1793 he stepped in, and it was a great political mistake to have sent him to India. That's what masters are saying. Recall the past, says the master. Recall the past to see what our intentions were. If you see, then you may end up doing good to those who are suffering. Recall the past to see what our intentions are. Intentions are always to support the right, support the weak, support the persons who are suffering. So he says, Master says, recall the past to see what our intentions were. If you see, if you're able to see, then you may end up doing good to those who are suffering, meaning the farmers. Master says, when you took Bengal from the Mussalman rulers, when you took over Bengal from the Mussalman rulers, the East India Company did not quite understand the intentions of the Mohammedan rulers. There was a mistake. The Mohammedan rulers thought one thing, and you people, when you took over the management of the Bengal, you thought something else. So it was not quite the same thing which both of you understood. The Mohammedan rulers, their intentions were not understood by you. East India Company did not understand the intentions of the Mohammedan rulers. East India Company also did not understand the rights of the farmers. East India Company also did not understand the rights of the farmers. So the landlords, the zamindars, master says, took advantage of the situation and became tyrants. They were subjecting the farmers to all sorts of misery. And they were causing a lot of misery. They were source and cause of misery to small farmers. The government supported the claims and intentions of landlords. The government always supported the claims and intentions of the landlords. Your government opposed many and supported the claims of few. This is a thing which is happening perhaps in many other states also. Your government, Master is talking about the British government, your government opposed many and supported the claims of few. So many farmers were suffering. You didn't want to take cognizance of that, but you supported few jamindars. So this is what he is suggesting. Your government opposed many and supported the claims of few. As a result of that stand you have taken, there was a document which was introduced, which was called the Perpetual Settlement Document. There was a document which was introduced, which was called the Perpetual Settlement Document. These are all things which happened in the history. This development caused all the evils in Bengal you perhaps cannot imagine. This introduction of Perpetual Settlement Documents, which is supposed to broke peace between the landlords and the farmers. Actually, this development caused all the evils in Bengal, and you treated farmers like you treat animals. This is the statement made by the master. You treated the small farmers like you treat animals. So yet you were all boasting as true Christians at the heart, as declared by the Bible. The true Christian will think in terms of people who are suffering, but you never cared for the people who are suffering. You always treated them like animals, but then you boasted as if you're true Christians at heart, as declared by the Bible, and were considering yourself as worthy descendants and posing as pious Christians. This is the observation of the Master KH. The agreement put in place between Lord Cornwallis and the landlords. There was an agreement which was there between the Jamindars and the landlords. Lord Cornwallis and the landlords, sorry. The Viceroy and the landlords entered into an agreement. The agreement provided for treating farmers kindly and justly. That agreement provided to treat farmers kindly and justly. Master says the agreement was a mere legal farce. Farce means nothing which is right about it. It's a farce, not a correct thing. It's a fraud. Chauhan was in India at that point of time, and he was witness to the horrors perpetrated on farmers. Farmers were suffering and they were starving and faced miserable state of affairs in their life. The government taxed the Raiyats or taxed the farmers unduly. The government taxed the farmers unduly, which was not seen in the past 50 years or so. This is what Master is saying. Things changed when Lord Ripon came in and enacted a new bill. Things changed when Lord Ripon came in and enacted a new bill. Master says to Sinnet, you are a clever editor and astute, observant politician. Yet, I am saying, neither Lord Ripon nor his councillors are looking to produce excellent results during their tenure in India. He says, you are an excellent editor, clever editor, and astute, observant politician. Yet, I am saying this, neither Lord Ripon nor his councillors are looking at providing excellent solution or providing excellent results during the tenure in India. We'll stop here because 45 minutes is up.
Thank you, brother, for your most insightful observation and presentation on these letters. Now I request Meenakshi ji for Hindi translation. Meenakshi ji.
सभी को नमस्ते. थैंक यू ब्रदर. आज हम क्रोनोलॉजिकल लेटर नंबर 113 ले रहे हैं जो मास्टर के एच एपी सिनेट को अगस्त 1883 में लिखते हैं. एपी सिनेट उस समय लंदन में थे. मास्टर कहते हैं कि बिल के बारे में निर्णय लेने का समय आ गया है. आपकी सहमति या इनकार पर फोनिक्स वृत्तपत्र का पुनरुत्थान निर्भर करता है. असल में मृतप्राय नहीं हुआ है, लेकिन मृत्यु जैसी समाधि में वह वृत्तपत्र गया है. यदि आप मेरे बोलने पर विश्वास रखते हैं और हमारे उद्देश्यों की पूर्ति करते हुए भारत से आपके समक्ष जो प्रस्ताव रखा जाएगा उस पर आपकी सहमति से हमारे संबंधित देशों को एक बड़े अमंगल से बचाएंगे जो दोनों देशों पर मंडरा रहा है. आप बंगाल रेंट बिल का विरोध करने के लिए हर संभव प्रयास कर सकते हैं. पूर्णतः एशियाई स्वरूप से कार्य की योजना आपके सामने रखी गई है. मैं आपके विचार या भावनाओं को निर्देशित करने के लिए एक उंगली तक नहीं हिला सकता और न ही इस मामले में चाहूं भी तो कुछ कर नहीं सकता. हमारे प्रभु कहते हैं, हे भिक्षुओं और अरहतों, मानव जाति के प्रति, हमारे बांधवों के प्रति मित्रवत रहे. आप सब यह जाने कि जो अपने साथी संगियों के जीवन को बचाने के लिए अपने जीवन का बलिदान नहीं करता और जो व्यक्ति जीवन से अधिक बहुतों के मान सम्मान को बचाने के लिए अपने मान सम्मान का त्याग करने में हिचकिचाता है, वह निर्वाण के पात्र नहीं है. जो व्यक्ति बिना किसी पूर्व प्रशिक्षण के हमारे कुछ सिद्धांतों को इतने बेहतर तरीके से आत्मसात करने में सक्षम था कि वह एसोटेरिक बुद्धिज्म किताब लिख सके, उसके लिए हमारे इरादों को समझना आसान हो जाना चाहिए, ऐसे मास्टर सीनेट से कहते हैं. आगे वे कहते हैं कि बिहार के प्रमुख दानदाताओं ने फोनिक्स वृत्तपत्र के लिए 1.5 लाख रुपए देने का प्रस्ताव रखा है. यदि आप भारत में वापस आते हैं और नए वृत्तपत्र द्वारा बंगाल रेंट बिल का खंडन करते हैं और आप उन्हें यानी दानदाताओं को अपना समर्थन देने का वादा करते हैं, तो जब तक कि यह प्रस्ताव आपके द्वारा भलाई के लिए स्वीकार नहीं किया जाता है, तब तक हम अपने फोनिक्स वृत्तपत्र की अंतिम विदाई के लिए तैयार हो सकते हैं. अब तक 1.5 लाख रुपए के अलावा हमारे पास केवल 45,000 रुपए शेयर्स के रूप में है. जमींदारों को राशि जमा करने दो और बाकी सब ठीक हो जाएगा, ऐसे मास्टर आश्वासन देते हैं. वे कहते हैं कि यदि आप इनकार करते हैं तो वे किसी अन्य संपादक को नियुक्त कर लेंगे। यदि रैयतों को यानी किसानों को और बिल के लिए कोई खतरा होता है, तो जमींदार वर्ग सिवाय उनके संपादक की प्रवीणता के अलावा कुछ नहीं खोएंगे। इस स्थिति में एकमात्र और असली परास्त होने वाला भारत होगा और अंततः आपका देश परास्त होगा। यह भविष्यवाणी जमींदारों द्वारा बिल के विरुद्ध प्रतिरोध और उसके विरुद्ध की गई साजिशें अपने आप में निंद्य है, फिर भी बहुत ही स्वाभाविक है। जो लोग इनकी गहनता से जांच करते हैं, वे लॉर्ड कॉर्नवालिस और उनके उत्तराधिकारियों को दोषी पाते हैं। हालांकि जैसा कि मैं कहता हूँ, यह निंद्य हो सकता है और इसे थामा नहीं जा सकता, क्योंकि यह मानवीय स्वभाव है और एक संपादक के लिए कानूनी तौर पर उनके दावों का समर्थन करना कोई निरादर की बात नहीं है, जो जानता है कि वे तबाह हो चुके हैं। मास्टर कहते कि डर के मारे मैं अब आपके यूरोपीय दृष्टिकोण से तर्क करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ, और कहीं ऐसा न हो कि आप हमारे एशियाई दृष्टिकोण से चीजों को देखने में सक्षम न हो जाए, या बल्कि हम जो भविष्य की घटनाओं को समझने में सक्षम है, उन्हें उस प्रकाश में देखते हैं। एक कंजर्वेटिव एडिटर जिसका कार्यक्षेत्र कंजर्वेटिव वॉइसरॉय के कार्यक्षेत्र के समान पाया जाएगा, वह खुद को वास्तव में एक मामूली विरोध के लिए कुछ भी खोता हुआ नहीं पाएगा, जो लंबे समय तक नहीं चल सकता है। वर्तमान बिल में बड़ी खामियां हैं, ऐसे मास्टर कहते हैं। मूर्खतापूर्ण रूप से असामयिक इल्बर्ट्स बिल और उससे भी अधिक मूर्खतापूर्ण शालिग्राम सुरेंद्र अवमानना के मामले के कारण आंदोलन भारत की आबादी को आत्मसंहार की कगार पर ले जा रहा है। अंग्रेज और एंग्लो इंडियन विपरीत दिशा से उसी रास्ते पर चल रहे हैं। आप मेरी चेतावनी को न मानने के लिए स्वतंत्र हैं। यदि आप ऐसा नहीं करते हैं, तो आप स्वयं को समझदार साबित करेंगे। बहुत से अंग्रेज जो बहुत बुद्धिमान और सामर्थ्यवान हैं, जो जमींदारों के पक्ष में अपने सिद्धांतों और मनोभाव के विरुद्ध बिल का विरोध करने के लिए तैयार है, और उनके साथ गठबंधन के करने के लिए भी तैयार है। इस प्रकार रैयत यानी किसान कुछ महीनों तक अपने भाग्य से बच नहीं सकते, चाहे आप प्रस्ताव स्वीकार करें या न करें। यदि अस्वीकार करते हैं, तब निश्चित ही वृत्तपत्र की योजना कगार पर है। साथ ही बेहतर होगा कि आप अपरिहार्य परिणामों को जानने के लिए तैयार रहें। यदि जमींदारों की पेशकश खारिज कर दी जाती है, तब फोनिक्स वृत्तपत्र का शुरू न होना 99% होगा। यदि हम स्थिति को काबू में नहीं लाते और यह प्रोजेक्ट जो विफल होने की कगार पर है, यदि अंततः ऐसा होता है, तब हमें जुदा होना होगा। भारत के लाखों गरीब और पीड़ित किसानों की रक्षा करने के लिए अपने समस्त ज्ञान और शक्तियों का प्रयोग करने की चौहान से अनुमति प्राप्त करने के लिए मुझे फिनिक्स वृत्तपत्र के असफल होने की स्थिति में इस तरह के सांसारिक मामलों में हस्तक्षेप न करने और यूरोपियों को हमेशा के लिए अलविदा कहने की प्रतिज्ञा करनी पड़ी। मास्टर एम और ज्वालकुल को मेरी जगह लेनी होगी, ऐसा मास्टर कहते हैं। वे कहते हैं कि दूसरी ओर यदि आप प्रस्ताव पर सहमति देते हैं, तो रेंट बिल के प्रति आपके विरोध का हमारे कार्य पर रैयतों के लिए एक जहाज को डूबने से बचाने के लिए एक तिनके से भी कम कोई प्रभाव नहीं होगा। जबकि यदि कोई अन्य संपादक चुना जाता है, तो हमारे पास उनके पक्ष में यानी रैयतों के पक्ष में अपना प्रभाव डालने का कोई बहाना नहीं होगा। ऐसी स्थिति है। आपकी राय में यह एक अजीबोगरीब मेल है, जिसके होने का कोई कारण नहीं। आगे वे कहते हैं कि विरोध के बावजूद और केवल इसके कारण आप एक बड़े पैमाने में राष्ट्रीय खलबली तहलका को अपेक्षा से पहले चरम बिंदु पर लाए। इस प्रकार अपने कार्यक्रम और किसानों से किए गए वादों को दृढ़ता से पूरा करते हुए आप उन घटनाओं में मदद करेंगे जो उस दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण अभागे किसानों को बचाने के लिए किए जाने हैं, जो 1793 से लॉर्ड कॉर्नवालिस के बहुत बड़े राजनीतिक गलती के कारण दबी हुई है। साथ ही आप हर एक दिशा में बहुत अच्छा काम कर सकते हैं। अतीत को याद करें और इससे आपको हमारे इरादों को स्पष्ट रूप से गौर करने में मदद मिले। अंग्रेजों ने बंगाल को मुसलमान शासकों से अपने अधीन कर लिया था, तो वहाँ कई लोग थे जो अपनी सरकार के तहत टैक्स कलेक्टर्स के रूप में काम करते थे। 19वीं शताब्दी के आपके प्रगतिशील राष्ट्र द्वारा अभागी रयतों को कैसे माना जाता है, यह देखिए। आपकी दृष्टि में वे घोड़े या मवेशियों से भी कम आके जाते। लॉर्ड कॉर्नवालिस और जमींदारों के बीच हुआ समझौता, जिसमें यह तय किया गया था कि जमींदारों को किसानों के साथ दयापूर्ण और न्यायपूर्ण व्यवहार करना चाहिए और उन्हें रयतों के किराए यानी रेंट वसूली में वृद्धि नहीं करनी चाहिए, यह एक कानूनी मजाक था। उस समय चौहान भारत में थे और आतंक की शुरुआत के प्रत्यक्षदर्शी थे। जैसे ही उन्होंने परपिचुअल सेटलमेंट एग्रीमेंट हासिल किया, जमींदारों ने अपनी वचनबद्धता की अवहेलना शुरू कर दी। इनमें से किसी भी बात को पूरा न करने पर वे असहाय रहने पर सालाना बर्बादी और भूखमरी लाते थे। उन्होंने कर वसूला, उन्हें बेच दिया और कर वसूली के नाम पर उनके खिलाफ झूठे आरोप लगाए। इस बहुत बड़ी गलती को लाइलाज स्थिति को सुधारने के लिए लॉर्ड रिपन ने नया बिल लाने का मन बनाया। हम यही कहेंगे कि वर्तमान के बंगाल रेंट बिल का उद्देश्य अतीत की गलतियों का निवारण करना है। न तो लॉर्ड रिपन और न ही उनके काउंसिलर्स भारत में उनके सत्ता के दौरान किसी बड़े पैमाने परिणाम की आशा करते। वे आपकी कल्पना से कहीं अधिक गुड ऑकल्टिस्ट है, ऐसा मास्टर करते हैं। नमस्ते।
Thank you, Meenakshi ji, for your excellent and perfect translation. Now the forum is open for discussion. Participant can ask question from speaker, and if they want to add, they are most welcome. Pradeep sir, do you want to add something?
No, it is important
Shinde
letter.
sir, ji.
No, it is explained
Shinde?
well. No, not necessary
Okay.
comment.
Okay. I think the prominent message of these letter is that we are supposed to raise our voice for the speaker section of the society. Thank you so much again, Brother Krishna ji. If there is no question, we are ending meeting with the prayer. Asato ma sadgamay, tamso ma jyotirgamay, mrityor ma amritam gamay. From the unreal lead us to the real, from darkness lead us to light, from death lead us to immortality. Sarve bhavantu sukhina, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kashit dukbhag bhavet. Shanti, shanti, shanti. Thank you for joining.